Greetings, all my viewers, and a warm welcome to this session on lesson planning. At the outset, let me state the outcomes which I expect from this video. After watching the video, the viewers will state the meaning of lesson plan, explain the importance of developing a lesson plan, enlist the steps of a lesson plan, use and analyze lesson plans from the knowledge which they have gained, and create their own lesson plans. Let us begin by first emphasizing on the relationship which we have between the objectives, learning experiences, and the evaluation in the context of teaching and learning. Objectives are those which we set to achieve at the beginning of a session, and we try to achieve them through the various learning experiences which we plan during the session. We also find out whether these objectives have been achieved through the evaluation process. And this is the entire teaching learning process. For teaching learning to be successful, there has to be a connect between all these three aspects. And in this context, lesson planning becomes very important. Goods defines lesson plan as an outline of the important points of a lesson arranged in the order in which they are to be presented to students by the teacher. So this definition emphasizes on creating an outline of all that you want to cover through the session in a sequential manner. One more definition of lesson plan goes as, which is given by Lester Stans, wherein he states, lesson plan is actually a plan of action. It therefore includes the working philosophy of the teacher, his information about the understanding of his pupils, his comprehension of the objectives of education, his knowledge of the material to be taught, and his abilities to utilize effective materials. This definition emphasizes on a comprehensive understanding of the entire process of teaching and learning, which begins with a basic philosophy of the person. Then it also relates with the content which is to be covered through the session, through the lesson, and what kind of materials, what kind of methodologies, what kind of techniques the person is going to use or the teacher is going to use so as to achieve those objectives. Thus, it emphasizes the relationship between the objective, the various methodologies and techniques, that is the teaching, learning experiences, and also the assessment or the evaluation aspect. One more definition goes as, lesson plan refers to the various activities the teacher is going to organize during the session using the learning resources so as to make maximum learning of the students possible. So you will realize that the entire process of a lesson plan is basically focusing on achieving your objectives by ensuring that maximum learning of the students will take place. In fact, it emphasizes on the fact that your teaching will be only effective if there is maximum learning by the students, and this can be possible only when we are able to organize our teaching in a systematic manner, when we are going to plan our teaching activities in a systematic and orderly manner. Lesson plan describes all the ideas of the teacher which regarding what he or she is going to do and how he or she is going to do it. So this particular aspect focuses on the various activities the teacher is going to do and how he or she is going to do it. So what is the activity? how the teacher is going to do it. So what kind of resources he or she is expecting to use, and what kind of expectation he or she has even from the students. Now you will realize that in a lesson plan, we are talking about the content to be taught. We are talking about the methodologies to be used. We are also talking about the various activities which the students are going to perform. And we are also going to find out how and to what extent the learning has taken place in the students. In this context, you will realize that lesson planning plays a vital role for the teaching learning process to be successful. Now, let us look at why we should be planning. First and foremost, it helps to achieve the objectives we have set for the course. It helps to make our teaching specific and goal-directed. It keeps our teaching systematic and organized. It helps us to make use of the time which is available to us, and it helps to analyze the extent to which we have achieved the learning outcomes. Also, we should plan because it helps us to develop, collect related learning resources and aids which would be used in the teaching learning process. It also makes possible planning of appropriate assessment strategies. And once we have planned the session, it makes us confident since we are well prepared with what we are going to do during the session. It is useful to give directions to our further sessions because our planning is never in isolation. It is a continuation of the earlier teaching along with an expectation which we set for our further teaching sessions. So, now let us look at what is included in a lesson plan. There are 6 main aspects which are important in a lesson plan. The first is the initial details and the previous knowledge. Second, teaching points. Third, objectives and their specifications. Fourth, teacher's activity. 5, student's activity. And 6, evaluation. So when we are talking about the initial details and the previous knowledge, when you are going to prepare your lesson plan, when you are going to write your lesson plan, it will have all these aspects. So name of the participant or the name of the teacher, you will be writing your own name. Then you will also be writing your ID number which has been given to you. The skill which you have selected out of the 3 skills which we have focused on, narration, illustration, and questioning. So which skill you have selected, the lesson number, the date on which you are going to conduct the session, your subject, subunit, that is the exact topic, and the expected previous knowledge. Once these initial details are filled up, we are going to focus on the format of the lesson plan. Your lesson plan will have 5 columns. The first is the teaching points. The second one is the objectives and their specifications. The third is teacher's activity. 4th column is student's activity. And the 5th column is evaluation. Let us look at each of these columns in detail and what is expected from you to be written in each column. Let us start with the first column. Right? Your lesson plan will look something like this. The first initial part will have all your details, and then you will have your actual lesson plan. So, in the teaching points, which is the first column, it focuses on the content which you are going to cover during that session. So first thing is it should have the title written in that column. So you should write the title of the topic which you have selected, and then you should give a description of that topic along with subheadings which will be there and a brief description under each of that subtopic. Also, If it's a lesson where you're going to use maybe a chart or a diagram or a presentation or a picture, that should also be mentioned and attached along with the first column, that is the teaching points. The second column is objectives and their specifications. So this particular column focuses on what is the purpose of your session. What changes you expect to occur in the learners after that session is over or after you have taught that particular topic. They should be written in terms of a singular learner. We expect that each and every student will go up to that objective which you have set for the session. So they're written actually in terms of the learning outcomes which you expect to achieve at the end of the session. They should be based on Bloons Taxonomy. That is going from knowledge level up to creativity level. It may be the case that in all the lesson plans, you will not have all these levels right from knowledge level to creativity level, but they should be written in that same sequence. So when we know the Bloons Taxonomy, all of us know that we start with the knowledge level, that is the remembering and the understanding level. So you go from remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So this is the hierarchical structure of the objectives, and it should be written in that manner only in this particular column. Various verbs which are associated with these main objectives I have given over here just as a reference for you when you start writing those objectives and their specifications. Then comes the column of teacher's activity, which is a very, very important column. It includes 6 steps: introduction, statement of aim, presentation, summarization, evaluation, and homework. Now, in this particular column, it is expected that all the activities which the facilitator or the teacher is going to do is mentioned sequentially in a specific order in which the teacher is going to conduct in the classroom. Also, what different techniques, what different activities the teacher is going to organize are also to be mentioned. Like if the teacher is going to narrate something, if the teacher is going to illustrate something, or if the teacher is going to ask questions, these kind of statements will be written in the column of teacher's activity under each of these heads. Now, you have to take care that when you are planning these activities, you give the learners or the students various opportunities like observing, comparing, creating, exploring, etc. And you are also catering to the needs of the students. What kind of class are you catering to? What kind of mode are you using? All these aspects have to be considered when you are planning the teacher's activity column. Introduction, statement of aim, presentation, summarization, evaluation, and homework. So for example, when you are beginning a session, suppose you begin by showing a picture. In introduction stage, you will write, teacher shows a picture and asks students to observe. And maybe teacher asks questions, and you will be writing those questions below. Under the heading of statement of aim, you will write, teacher states the aim of the session and writes it on the board, or in the online sessions, you are going to display maybe the statement. What they are going to learn. Then comes the presentation step, wherein you will be actually explaining the content which you have selected, the new content which you have selected, and you will be also including the it would be stepwise, it would be sequence wise, and it would also be talking about the various activities which you are going to do. Say, teacher shows the picture and explains, teacher demonstrates something and explains, or teacher narrates about something. So all these actions will be written after that. And of course, what are you going to explain about? Just don't write down that teacher explains, but teacher explains about XYZ. So that particular point should be written, and it should tally in the same sequence which you have mentioned in the teaching points. So you will teach one subheading, one subtopic from that main topic in a sequential manner in the presentation stage. Then comes the stage of summarization, wherein you quickly summarize whatever you have been conducting throughout the session. This step is followed by the step of evaluation. In the teacher's activity column, you will just mention that teacher asks questions for evaluation, because we actually have an evaluation column in the lesson plan where we will be writing the actual questions. Here, you would be just writing the statement that the teacher conducts evaluation, or teacher asks questions for evaluation, or teacher takes evaluation in the class. Only the statement will be written. And the last step, which is the homework or the assignment, again over here, you will just mention teacher gives the homework. So by now you must have understood that these are the steps we use for writing teacher's activity: introduction, statement of aim, presentation, summarization, evaluation, and homework. Then comes the column of evaluation. Now, one important thing which I would like all of you to remember is that this particular column should correspond with the student's activity column also. So wherever you mention a teacher's activity, you will have a corresponding activity written in the student's activity column. Suppose you have written teacher asks questions in the teacher's activity column, you will be saying student answers. Suppose you have written teacher shows a chart in the teacher's activity column, in the student's activity column, you will be mentioning student observes or student reads. Okay. Or if the teacher is narrating in the if you have written that teacher is narrating in the teacher's activity column, you will mention student listens. So each teacher activity will have a corresponding student's activity. Then you have the evaluation column. Over here, you will be writing all the questions which you are going to ask for evaluation. You have to remember that these questions should be varied. Different types of questions, like maybe an essay type question, or maybe objective questions like yes, no, true or false, or maybe answer in one sentence. These could be asked. Or you can also make use of some diagrams and ask them to fill in that diagram. Or you could also ask them to complete a worksheet. You can use crossword, you can use maze, any kind of activity. There should be different ways to assess, but they should be linked with your learning objectives. So objectives and specifications column will correspond with the evaluation column. And then is the last part which we focus on, which is on the homework which you give. So the homework which you are going to give to the students should be something which goes beyond the text beyond the syllabus, beyond the actual content which you have taught. You try and relate it with the day-to-day life, and you give opportunity to the students to apply what they have learned to solve new problems or relate them with some new problems. So it could also focus on creating something new. So homework is something which is important for taking classroom teaching to the actual life situations. So what kind of homework you will design for your students is going to decide how you are going to link the classroom teaching with the day-to-day life, and hence it has a very important place in our lesson planning. You must have realized now that developing lesson plans is not an easy task, but yes, we have to be into it so that we achieve the objectives which we have set out to achieve. I hope this video will help you to look at the various lesson plans which I'm going to share with you, and also will help you to design and develop your own lesson plans. So with this, I would say I would like to extend my best wishes to you for designing and developing your own lesson plans before you're actually going to conduct the lessons. So thank you so much and wish you all the best. Thank you.